So as we get started, I will turn off people's microphones and cameras. And then when we take questions at the end, people are free to turn back on their cameras and their microphones. But we just do that so there isn't any feedback while you guys are presenting and just so the participants know that. But when it comes time for questions, please feel free to turn back on your microphones and your cameras. And we are coming up on the hour, so we will get ready to go. And thank you everybody for joining us.
All right, welcome everyone. So today's webinar is on virtual career connections and energy and engineering. So I'm Jennifer Clemens. I'm one of the co-PIs on the Create National Center. And I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Heidi Gurdo and Dr. David LaFazia, as I have worked with both of these two for many, many years. And while we work at the same college, we have always worked on different campuses. So I met David, I think my second week at Lane out in Oregon. So we go way back from really right when I started at Delaware Tech. So this is going to be our webinar today. And I want to remind everyone that you can see all upcoming events under the createenergy.org website. So if you click under events, you can see all the upcoming events, and that's where this webinar will be archived in the future. So just a reminder, a couple upcoming events that we are going to be having is the Virtual Solar Institute is going to be running in April 2023. So I know there's been some teachers that couldn't make one of the workshops. So that's a really great option if you can't attend the in-person workshops. So Wisconsin's workshop, Solar Institute, will be July 11th through 13th. Delaware, we're going to be hosting ours July 18th through 20th. And there's a couple additional workshops that are going to be posted on the website soon. Additionally, next Friday, we have another webinar. It's going to be exploring grid resilience as an approach to evaluating energy technologies and addressing extreme weather and climate impacts. And as we were just saying, we're at different sides of the country and we are experiencing very different weather. So California is very cold today and Delaware has been very warm this week. So that should be a really interesting webinar to see how the grid resilience, we're really going to see that going forward. Additionally, there's some virtual KidWin workshops upcoming. So there's one on building automations, March 9th, and these are heavily discounted using the Create code. So you can attend that and get a box of supplies. So I've attended a couple of those and it's worth it for the box of supplies and to learn about some ways to use some different ideas to use in your classroom. And finally, I'll be hosting the next Create Coffee Hour on March 20th, and that will be free stuff for educators. So again, all of these are posted on the Create website, so check it out. Please email Gabby to register for any of these, and we hope you can attend one of our upcoming workshops. So it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today. So today we have Dr. Heidi Gurdo and Dr. David LaFazia. And again, they all work with me at Delaware Tech. Dr. Heidi Gurdo was the department chair for several engineering technology programs. And I'm going to get this list wrong, but they include architectural, civil, environmental engineering, computer-aided drafting, construction management, and geographic information systems, including the oversight of the civil transfer degree option, and previously the surveying technology and the energy management associate degree programs. Whew. And now she has been promoted to the interim assistant dean of instruction. Dr. Gurdo earned an AS degree in architectural studies and design from Morrisville State College in New York, and a BS in architecture studies and a Master of Architecture from Norwich University in Vermont, and her EDD is in higher education leadership from Wilmington University. Before coming on board to Delaware Tech, Dr. Gurdo worked in industry, gaining real-world experience in commercial building design, lead design, and residential remodeling and design. Dr. David LaFazia was the instructional coordinator for engineering technology programs of all those programs that we worked with Heidi on, but now he's the interim department chair for these programs. David earned his BA in physics education from the University of Delaware and an MS in teaching physics from Delaware State University, and his EDD in educational leadership, curriculum, technology, and higher education from the University of Delaware. Prior to coming to Delaware Tech, David taught high school physics for 6 years. He holds certifications as a teacher of physics, grades 9 through 12, school principal and assistant school principal, led RRP renovator, EPA universal refrigerant handling technician, forklift operator, and holds his OSHA 30 construction card. So it is my pleasure to turn this over to Dr. Gurdo and Dr. LaFazia.
Thank you, Dr. Clemens.
All right, thank you very much. Let me share my screen here. There we are.
Wonderful. So thank you everyone for joining us for the virtual Career Connections in Energy and Engineering conversation. We're going to talk to you today about how you can create one of these at your school and exactly what it is. So this is the mission of our college, and we have this up here just to say that this Career Connections event that we do at Delaware Tech really supports the mission of Delaware Tech, which is putting students at the center of everything we do and promoting student success. So how we got started. Well, you can see images here of a live career expo. So we used to run an engineering technologies career expo face-to-face from 2014 until 2020. And this event was initially sponsored by a student success grant that we were awarded through Delaware Tech. The event it was really great having it in person, seeing all these people. However, there were a few things that we ran into while holding a face-to-face event. So one of them was weather, like we just talked about. We would traditionally hold the event in February during National Engineers Week, and it would get snowed out. So we would either have to cancel the event that we spent hours and weeks and months planning, or in the middle of the event, we would have to cancel it because there was a snowstorm starting outside and we needed everyone to leave and get home safely. We also had food costs. We fed all of our industry partners. We fed our students cookies and small snacks. So there was a lot of, costs that we had that went along with this. David, go ahead and go to that next slide. Mm-hmm. So this is just some data showing you from our face-to-face events, how many industry partners that we had there presenting to the students, and then how many students that attended the event. So as Dr. Clemens said, we do have 4 campus locations at Delaware Tech. So when you see those student bars, those are representing students from several different campus locations that came to attend.
All right, and then of course, everyone remembers the pandemic struck. And so we were faced with a lot of demand from the industry to still connect with students, but of course we didn't have any students on campus to do this. And we hesitated at first to add anything extra to the faculty loads and try something brand new. We also, as with everyone, didn't really know how long these situations were going to last. So everybody kept thinking, oh, it'll be summertime, we'll be back. It'll be fall, we'll be back. And of course, as everyone here experienced, it just continued on. So we were faced again with that industry demand, but what were we going to do about it?
And I think one of the points we really want to mention here too is that even with our Career Expo and this Career Connections event, one of the main things that we tell our industry partners when they are interested in signing up is this is not necessarily a job fair. You don't have to have job openings to join this event. We just really want you to talk to our students about the future. What does that look like? And we'll get into some of those questions that we typically ask them to answer, but most of them do have job opportunities for students, but there are some cases where it's one of our industry partners that wants to come and talk about what their experience was like in school, how they got started in their field, and like that, what that path would look like for the students at Delaware Tech.
So we were armed with a lot of enthusiasm from students because, of course, their programs didn't stop. We still pivoted right into online learning. And they had to complete their internships, cooperative education experiences. They were career oriented. They wanted to work afterwards. And then we have the external stressors, making sure that our industry demands and our industry partnerships remain strong. And so what we did was we decided to pivot into what we call the Career Connections events. And so at first, this was, again, brought up by those external and internal stressors, but a faculty idea on how we could take the best parts of the career expos and put them into the virtual realm. So you can see that we ran with that, again, being a little bit of a gap while we were working on how to pivot, when to pivot, what this should actually look like. And we started in spring of 22. And I believe that Dr. Gurdo, you were going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really, again, the Career Connections event was a brainchild of our faculty, just trying to figure out how can we still get these industry members out there in front of the students. We at first we were going to use the handshake platform and try to do an event that way, but we ended up just creating this new and unique idea of offering it through Zoom. We did take that break, like David said, because we were all trying to figure out how to teach in the virtual environment. So we needed some time to figure that out before we went to this event. So far, since we've held the event, we have had 38 companies represented, 55 industry members have attended, and then 82 students have attended. And we'll tell you a little bit more about the results of that and what those connections have done for our students towards the end of our presentation. But what we want to share with you next is our organizational tools and really how we got started and the tools that you can use to create one of these events at your campus.
All right, so let me highlight. We have the website up first. This was Heidi's brainchild. She pulled it together using the Google Suite, and it really has been quite successful. You can see that we have a landing page where students can RSVP. The student RSVP is really just a way for us to see who's going to attend. It's not the most critical one. The most critical is, of course, making sure that the employers are going to be represented as well. And so we'll go through and show you step by step all the different files that we've used. And actually, I believe that you'll have access to these files afterwards. So you'll have an out of a box approach to how you could really run one of these out of your own school. So simple landing page, we get the information out there. We have students see this multiple times throughout the semester because we do a lot of in-house marketing through announcements, through emails. The beginning of every class, we usually say, hey, this Career Connections event's coming up, who's coming? So we want to make sure that the students know that we think it's valuable, that employers are going to be there trying to look for interns and potential employees later on. And so we really push it, and it seems to have been doing really, really well. Looking forward to the next two coming up.
So I'm just going to share with you a little bit more that's on this web page. There's the landing page that Dr. LaFazia explained, and then there's the event format. So we put in there how the event is formatted. So what we typically do is we start with introductory remarks that are MC. So usually David gets that role. He's the MC, and he goes over a few housekeeping items, which we'll share a little bit later. Then we have each of our industry members or businesses introduce themselves. So we give them about 4 minutes to provide an introduction. Then we do a panel discussion with the whole group that's there. So students can ask general questions to the entire panel. And then sometimes we'll go into breakout sessions. And I say sometimes for a reason, which again, we'll explain. And then we have closing remarks, and then we end the session. We share all of the information back to this website after we're done. So if while an industry member is presenting, they give out their personal cell phone number and they say, students can call me. We're like, great. Can we post that on the website? And then we'll go ahead and post that information later. For the schedule, we just have the dates that the events are going to run and the Zoom link. So the Zoom link is pretty much on every tab so that the students can find it easily. We also have a preparation tab, and this is really for the students to get them prepared for the event. So we ask them to RSVP. We talk about what you should and should not ask an employer. We talk about maybe how you should look on Zoom, some questions that you could ask during the general panel discussion, and then how to be prepared in terms of having a resume available and preparing yourself on Zoom so that their name is correctly written on Zoom and that maybe their major is also listed underneath their name. So this is probably one of the key components, is really preparing the students. So this web page, this part of the web page is very helpful for faculty members when they're promoting the event to students. We also have a post-event tab. And this tab shows the students how to connect with employers after the event. So we do ask all of our employers to sign up for a handshake account, which is the way that students find jobs at Delaware Tech. It's a job posting platform. We also ask students to utilize Big Interview, which is a software that is offered through Delaware Tech, where they can practice their interview skills. It asks them questions on the screen, and then they can record themselves answering the questions and then watch the feedback to see if they stumbled across words or maybe what they could have done better, made better eye contact. And then we also post the recording of the event. The speakers are also posted for the students because we do ask the students to do some prep work before the event. We give them some small assignments, and one of those assignments is research the companies that will be attending the Career Connections event and write what you think, which companies do you like and why do you like them? What is it that they do that you're interested in? And then write 5 questions that you're going to ask the companies. So all the students do that in addition to the stuff on the preparation tab. They have small assignments that are also related to attending the event. We do have students that are already working in industry. So you might be thinking, what about my students who are working and they don't want to attend the event or they don't need to attend? We still ask them to do a little bit of prep work and research the companies there, just because we think that it's good. It could be good for them to be aware of other companies that are out there that they might not have recognized. And maybe they could utilize those companies at their place of business where they're currently working.
And to make the time frame work for this, we usually try to keep it to 5 to 9. That's about the magic range there, industry members, because otherwise you end up with a whole lot of inertia in your presentation. And so we have started collecting all of the previous employers that have participated to date, and not including the next 2 that are coming up in a month or this next month. So just you can kind of see that we've had several different firms represented here, so very useful.
So some other items in our toolkit that we want to share with you are the faculty buy-in to. Faculty are one of the key the key ways to make these events successful. So you need faculty to really be the cheerleaders for the event. So that means that they really need to promote this event to their students. Why is it important that students attend? What are they going to get out of it? So we ask our faculty at the start of their classes to really just remind students about the Career Connections, talk about why it's valuable, why they would want to attend, remind them how to RSVP for it, and then also to remind them on the date that event is coming up. So leading into faculty buy-in is also when to run these events. And that's one of the struggles that David and I have had, because you're trying to figure out what are the students' schedules, what's the best time to run this so I don't bump up into a class. Should I run it during a lunchtime? So we've tried multiple time frames, and sometimes they've worked, sometimes they haven't. I think where we're going to see the most success, and where we have seen the most success, is when we overlap the events by a half hour in the student's actual class. And then the instructors allow them for that last half hour to attend the event, because now we have a captive audience. So they're in the room, the instructor is going to pull it up, and then we're all going to participate. One of the other things that you really want to make sure is that you have the support of your campus. So However, your campus can support you in these events. They're pretty much free to run. You know, it's virtual. There's really no cost. There's no cost in creating a Google website. The only cost is your time. But our campus supports us through our Career Services Center by helping students write resumes, reviewing their resumes with them, by offering that big interview software service. And then they can also post these events for us on the campus-wide and college-wide academic calendars, and so that the students can see these events that way as well and be made aware of them. So David, I know you wanted to pull up some of the post and prior and post items. So we have these tools that were, I believe will be shared with you, but we wanted to share what goes out to all of the industry partners, the students, how we collect information. So once you have a date set for this event, you've created your website, you've got your faculty on board, now you need to start getting those companies and industry partners to participate. So one of the first ways that we did this was we sent out an email to all of our advisory board members and also to anyone who had recently sent us a job posting, and we invited them to attend the event. And we'll share the emails that we used with you. And in that email was this link to this survey. So we asked them to RSVP through this survey and provide their name and contact information. Now, because our engineering programs cover so many different departments, we also asked them to identify which one of these programs or majors more closely related to their company. And they could pick more than one. So that information then goes onto our website, so that when students are looking for which companies do I want to maybe go in a breakout room with, well, they can see, oh, this person's related to architecture and this person's related to energy. I'm going to go here instead of there. So it's really helpful. We also ask the industry partners to identify if they have internships or part-time opportunities or full-time job opportunities coming up, or none at all. So far for most of our Career Connections events, we have had folks looking, like I said, for jobs. So they always click that button. And we post all of this information again onto our website just so it's helpful for students.
All right.
You can see this is just a document that gets produced after the survey is completed, so that you can use it to organize all the information. So we asked the companies, you can see in column H, to pick which day they want to attend. And then after they get back to us by a set deadline, we go through and we aggregate this data to say, okay, which companies are presenting on which days. Now that we have this, let's go ahead and send them another confirmation email letting them know the day that they're going to present.
And in the files that'll be provided to you, we didn't share the survey itself, but we shared the RSVP, so you can reproduce that survey. And if there's anybody that really needs a copy of the survey, I'm sure we can arrange to get it sent over to your Google account.
Absolutely. So then we have just our generic presenter emails that we're going to share. We have an initial email, a confirmation email, and an email asking them for a photo. So in the initial email, this is just telling them what the event is and inviting them to the event. And this includes the link to that Career Connections survey. And you can feel free to modify this, the dates, the times, whatever information you need to update. We just provided our examples in there so that you can see it. Again, then once we have all of the folks, they've responded, we've separated them. Some are going to present on this day, some are going to present on this day. We then send them a confirmation email letting them know the day they're presenting. And then what we ask them to do is to create a 4-minute, 3-slide presentation. And you can see that we've outlined what we want to see on each of the 3 slides. So they introduce themselves, their company, job opportunities if they have them, and then they have an attention grabbing slide so that they can really draw the students into them and into their company. We tell them what the format of the event is. So we have the 30-minute moderated panel discussion. We show them what that might look like. Maybe we start with an icebreaker question if no students have jumped in. So we give them examples of icebreaker questions, and some of them are kind of silly, like what were your, what's the weirdest or worst thing that happened to you in college? So we could just get the students and the industry partners comfortable talking to one another.
And we played around with the timing a little bit on these as well. We started off with, I believe, just an hour, and then an hour and 15, an hour and 45. And so we've adjusted, based off of what makes the most sense with the student schedule. And there's a limit to how much employers are going to be able to participate as well. So it's less of an ask for both of us.
We also give them some sample panel discussion questions, and these questions have really developed from searching the internet, one, and then just at the events, the questions that the students ask, I write down while they're asking them, and I think, wow, that's really great. So then we put them in a big list of questions to ask in case there's dead silence. And then we'll go ahead and ask those. So one of them I really love is, does your company offer tuition reimbursement? Because some of these companies want students while they're still students. And I think that's amazing. And they all seem like they're amazing mentors. So you all might be seeing the same thing. And then after the panel discussion, we will go maybe into a breakout room. So, and David will talk more about the breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm.
We send a follow-up email just to have them send a photo to post to the website. Another follow-up reminder just to send us the presentation if they haven't sent that already. And then we have a thank you email. So we're going to share all of this with you. You can modify and change them. If you come up with something great, please share it with us, because, that is not the final product there. We're always changing it, but we'd love to see if somebody comes up with something else. This was actually one of the initial documents we created for faculty members to come up with a list of employers to contact. So when we were first starting, we created this Google Doc so faculty could go in and say, I know this company or that person really well. So they put their information here, and then we use this to reach out to people to get them to participate in the Career Connections event. We also have a student. This is the student form for RSVPs, just asking what their name is, which event they're going to attend, their major. And then we also ask them their anticipated graduation date. And that helps us because then we can really see maybe the Career Connections events are more successful in the spring than the fall. So this helps us kind of plan that out when we're planning future events. And this will, again, I believe David's he shared the responses, which will have the questions on there.
Yeah.
This is generated automatically by Google Forms. And then we have a list of generic student emails. So we have an initial email we sent to them. We feel maybe this is a little long. We might want to bullet it. We were thinking about making it have some graphics on it. I don't know about your students, but ours don't really like to read long things. So we need to make it more visually appealing. So that's our next step there. We do have a follow-up email for them too, and then a thank you email that includes the link to the Zoom recording for the session in case they missed it. And then this really document is the meat of it all. So I think this is what everyone's really going to like. This is our procedure for the entire event. So it talks about what each faculty member should be doing on the day of the event, what students should be doing in the waiting room. We have them, again, we have them change their name. So it says their name in the Zoom link. We have them put a Zoom background up. We ask employers to change their name to say their first name and last name and then the name of their company. We do a technology check with our employers. And then we also have a full script in here for the MC so that you can MC the entire event from start to finish. And I won't read it, but it's all there.
Yeah, and having been the main MC for all of these events, I can say I started off following the script. And then from there, you kind of get it and you learn to ad lib a little bit. So it's a great starting point. And we have notes all throughout all of these documents to just make it really out of the box, cut and paste for you. So, or plug and play.
And we constantly update this, like as I said, because we'll insert questions and some other things, or we change the amount of time folks have to present. They used to give 2 minutes to presenters to present their 3-minute slide, and that just wasn't enough. So 4 minutes seems like the magic number. We have the icebreaker questions in there. And then we also have closing remarks where we just ask each of the employers to sign up for Handshake and to provide us with any contact information for the students.
Yeah, I believe we started off not giving strong guidance on the timing for presentations, and that was a mistake. So you definitely want to be very clear on that, and then have some kind of kind but firm way of, ringing the gong or something on how to get people to stop.
Absolutely. So some presenters go on for a little bit long, so you have to bring out the hook, but very gently. We also have some links in there too for the Zoom breakout rooms. David, I'll let you talk about the Zoom breakout rooms and what we learned from those.
Yeah, absolutely. So very early on in the meeting whether you have a high or a low presenter to student ratio. So if there are a lot of presenters and fewer students, then we skip the breakout rooms and we turn it into a moderated Q&A. And it's a very smooth process. You just say, hello, we're going to do a live Q&A, and that's this last part of the session. But if you have a relatively low presenter to student ratio, so you have plenty of students to keep breakout rooms, jumping, then you go through what Heidi was saying. You set up the breakout rooms, and then you can rename them very easily. Students know where to go. If you, depending on your population, if you need to give them more guidance, you can drop them in yourself. And Zoom has been continually updating the utility of breakout rooms and interactivity. So it's kind of neat to see that develop alongside our Career Connections events. So that's the big pivot. You get them in, you get them introduced. While they're doing their introductions, you have already made the decision on whether you're going to have the second half be moderated Q&A or breakout rooms. Now, a moderated Q&A is a whole lot easier to end because you've never really left. You don't have to bring people back together. The breakout rooms, those are a little bit harder. You lose a little bit of control, but they're very valuable because a lot of times that's where the conversations really happen. The students open up, the employers form those relationships, and they really can get very interesting. I recommend that you have, as Heidi mentioned earlier, faculty available to just be in those rooms, keep them hot, keep the students moving. Whoever the MC is, they're usually also monitoring the chat, but it's nice to have someone to help with that as well. But the MC should also be keeping an eye on counts for breakout rooms and maybe making suggestions. Hey, have you tried blank industry member, right? If maybe they're alone. We want to make sure that our industry members are never alone. Because again, not only are we trying to connect students with who they want, but we're trying to keep our industry members happy as well. So it's a give and take for both of those groups. And so ending a moderated session, you can have some nice remarks, nice thank yous. Ending a breakout session, you usually will type things to the breakout rooms, or you can pop into each one, but if you're going to pop into each breakout room, you should have a secondary MC.
Yeah, just to reiterate, that is one of the main roles of faculty too. So aside from being the cheerleaders and getting the students there, they really need to be present at the event, because when you open up these breakout rooms and you have 6 companies that are one in each breakout room, there needs to really be a faculty member inside each of those breakout rooms, because we have found that's one of the things is that someone is alone. There's nobody in there with that industry member, and at least the faculty member could be in there to kind of talk with them. And then what we're doing in the background, as David said, is we're then reaching out to students individually through chat saying, hey, you might want to join this breakout room. This person really could interest you. This company could interest you. So getting them into those breakout rooms is a challenge, and it takes a lot of team work. So you need the people to be able to do that.
Yeah, and if one of your main barriers or your what ifs is not having anybody else to help you, if you're a sole MC, don't do the breakout rooms, do the guided Q&A. And then you could also recruit people from the advisement centers or whatever your counselor groups are. You can train them. It doesn't take much to train them to say, here's what you got to do. You have to keep the students moving, make sure that voices are heard, and make suggestions and provide simple answers to things. They don't have to be content experts at all. Not to help.
And then this update document really goes to one of our next slides, which is our lessons learned slide. So David and I and the rest of our team are very much reflective practitioners. So every time we do something, we say, well, how could we have done that better? So we created a document that really goes over, what could we tweak next time to make it even better? So that's a document that David had open, and I don't have to go over each of these. I think David and I are going to we bulleted some of the topics of things that we really have seen. So we'll share those with you and the bulleted topics. One of the first things is that flexibility. And I think we already talked about that. David talked about it. So you just have to be flexible. Do you need the breakout rooms? Should you just do the moderated discussion? You have to be able to pivot and recognize what you need at that moment in time. Flexibility in terms of how long is this discussion going to go for. So we started at, what was our initial time? An hour and a half, and then it kind of moved to an hour and 45 minutes. But we don't want to take up too much of anybody's time, industry members or students. So around that hour 45 minutes seems like enough before you get glassy eyes or people just aren't paying attention anymore. David, I'll let you talk about timing just a little bit.
Yeah, so Heidi had mentioned earlier the timing of sandwiching it just on the tail end, I guess bookending the classes. That overlap's really important, having that captive audience. And you can also incorporate it into the class content. We've made assignments for them before, but timing of communications are really important. I know with a lot of industry members, they need a far field date, and then they need to be reminded because their schedules change constantly. And with students, I think students are almost the more difficult population with timing because, again, if it doesn't align up with their classes, then what you're going to face is students having a reminder somewhere, but they're not necessarily as calendar run as we faculty are. And so it really should be butted up against or overlapping something that they already are involved in.
And just one of the things that David said reminded me, so those frequent emails to students and to employers that are participating in the events, we have considered using Eventbrite. It's what we used to use for the face-to-face career expos that we held. For these career connections events. And one of the reasons we were kind of playing with maybe moving to Eventbrite instead of writing all these reminder emails and sending them is that Eventbrite will do that for you. So you can kind of pre-program the emails and then it will send it out at the times that you say, have to keep consciously doing that. So if you don't have an admin assistant or somebody that can help you send all those emails, Eventbrite can help you do that. So we're going to attempt that platform maybe sometime in the future. We'll let you know how it goes, whether you should or should not do that. I wanted to talk about access. So we have that on there just to say sometimes when you have best laid plans, you think you've got the timing right for students, they're going to show up, it's perfect, it's during their lunch hour, you realize you've scheduled it during their physics class. Guilty. So recording the sessions is really important because you'll get students that say, I really wanted to attend, but unfortunately I have physics. And you could say back to them, I'm really sorry, but we've recorded the session for you. We're going to post it to the website. And this is how you could go back and look and watch what these employers had to say. And they will do it. A lot of them have come back to me and they say to me, especially when they're looking for co-ops, I went back on the Career Connections website and I looked and I found companies and I'm going to reach out to them. And I say, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're using that resource.
And that's really helpful for keeping, again, your industry partners happy, making sure that they feel that their time was well used, because there was that one time where industry members were looking around like the Brady Bunch, and they outnumbered the students. And so what did we do? We told them, hey, reassurance here. We're going to record this. We have many students that have voiced their desire to watch this and participate. We'll also share, beyond the recording, your contact information. We'll share these job opportunities. And you might think that they might not buy that, but they really understood the sincerity. And we have such a great relationship with our students and a communication background that it worked, and the students did benefit from it, and the industry members benefit from it. So if you find yourself in that type of situation, it's definitely reparable. You can come back from it.
Absolutely.
Roll with it, right?
Yeah.
No cancellations.
And then preparation is just kind of what I talked about before, is preparing those students. So get your faculty members to get excited about this, talk about it with their students, tell the students how to prepare for the event, maybe do those, low point assignments inside of your class. It doesn't have to be 100 points, it could be 5 points, but maybe they have to research those companies. And David and I, we didn't share our assignments with you, but we'd be happy to do that so you could see what we did. But getting the students prepared, and then creating that graphic maybe for how to prepare instead of that long-winded email is our next step. Organization, we talked about using Eventbrite. We also have made some changes where we gave presenters a little bit more time to introduce themselves. Again, we found that 4-minute mark, the sweet spot. We're trying to see if we could set some sort of maximum on breakout rooms. So maybe we could control the number of students that go in a breakout room at a time so that no one is left lonely. I haven't seen anything yet, but we're going to continue to look. And then because we do serve so many engineering programs, asking students as well as industry partners to just identify which program or major they most closely align with, that's going to help our students so that they can better, when they go to do those assignments and when they go to connect with employers, they can better see like this person or this company, this organization is more suited towards my skills and what I'm doing here at Delaware Tech than this company over here. So I think I'm going to visit these 3 instead of like these other 3.
And I want to add, even though this is completely plug and play right out of the box, you can run with it after a couple little edits to customize it. If you already have something in place that's similar, then you can just take these resources and adapt them as well. So it's totally possible. These are all modularized.
So our last slide is just to show you some of our student success stories. So we do have required co-ops that are part of our programs, and co-op at Delaware Tech just means that they're paid internships. And then we have had, so these 2 pictures are right here of one of our student, Vince. He's over here in the orange safety vest, and he got a co-op with Whiting Turner. And that was a result of Whiting Turner presenting at the Career Connections event. And then over on the other side in the yellow safety vest, we have Jamie in our construction management program. And she also got an co-op with Pannoni, which turned into a full-time job, and she is going to graduate. Actually, she's not a graduate yet. She still has another semester left, I believe. So that's really amazing that she's able to have a full-time job before she graduates Delaware Tech. And then other success stories that aren't up here are just what I was saying, that students do utilize the website. And they will go back to it and they will look at these companies because we have those required co-ops. Students will come and they'll say, I want to reach out. I need somebody to work for. And they'll say, I've already gone on and I've looked at the companies at the Career Connections event and I'm going to reach out to them. And again, we say, that's wonderful. Thank you for utilizing those resources. So more successes to come, I'm sure.
And that's us.
And that's us. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have questions, if you want more resources, if you have questions about our resources, or even if you want to join one of our events to see how it runs. We do have one upcoming and we'd love to have you there just so you could see it from start to finish.
This is Gabby here. So I had a question for you, or maybe just a clarifying. So is this event open to all of your students in your department, or is it just like upper division courses, or how does that work exactly?
It's open to all of our students, Gabby, in engineering technologies. So that includes, well, I'm not going to say the name of all of them, all the ones Dr. Clemens said before, and we actually have electrical and mechanical engineering here as well at Delaware Tech, and we've invited those departments to also join.
That's great. And do you have your students prepare ahead of time for these events? Do you make that part of the coursework for your classes, or is that just something you ask the students if you know that they're participating in the event do, or is it part of coursework, or do the faculty, I know that you could do that for your class, but do all of the faculty possibly do that for the classes that they teach?
We do have a measurable performance objective in our classes for professionalism. So in some of the courses, the upper level courses, we do require that they attend the event and complete the preparation assignments before the event. We used to, when we held the Career Expo, we used to require it in all courses that students completed the prep assignments. But the problem was that they were taking multiple courses, and then the assignment was in multiple courses. So it got a little bit confusing. So we've tried to target it to just a few main courses where that assignment is embedded and it's part of the objectives for the course for students to attend and prepare.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what you guys have done is really an awesome opportunity for the students to connect with industry, not just to try and get a job, but to really hear about what they're doing. So kudos to you guys. And I think there's a couple of questions in the chat too. And I saw them, but I didn't get to see what they were while I was talking. So hold on one second.
It's like Kathleen asked for the live event and recordings. Do we give students a contact person at each company? And we do. Yeah, we actually have that on the website ahead of the event, and then we retain it afterwards. And it has their links, it has who they're trying to hire. If they want to add job links, they can have that as well. Some of them even put cell phone numbers on there, depends. So. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and like you guys had mentioned, the documents that they had both talked about during this, I will have posted on the Create website. It takes me about a week to get the recording posted, but once it's up, I will have all of the documents available to share on the Create website. So, and I also want to thank Heidi and David for offering those, because what a wonderful resource to have available and to share, because I can't imagine the amount of time it took you guys to create those, and your willingness to share them is really fabulous. So thank you to both of you for sharing those with us.
You're welcome, Gabby. And I also want to say that if anyone wants to do a live face-to-face Career Expo, we have a lot of documents that I'd be happy to share for that that have been created. So just reach out to me or David and we could send those along too.
Oh, we also have a question from Deborah, who says, do you have exit interviews for student and mentor employers to get feedback on private thoughts of each?
We haven't been doing a post interview, but we do also still see the students face-to-face ourselves throughout the week, and we get feedback that way anecdotally, and we have very close relationships with the industry members. But what happens a lot of times is the students will tell us on the way out how it was, but the industry members tend to lag afterwards, and so then we have a little teeny chat afterwards, like a debrief session.
Yeah, we did try to do a post-event survey a few times, but got a low response rate. So it's really better what David said. If you can ask those industry partners just to hang around for a few more minutes and have a little conversation with you, you could get some good feedback that way.
I'm going to answer Dr. Clemens' second question first, is how challenging is it to get speakers? It's not really challenging because it was really demanded from the industry. They keep coming to us and saying, hey, how can we get in front of your students? And so we now have that process where if someone reaches out to Heidi or reaches out to me, we can send them that email and say, here's the invite, here are the dates coming up. And it works out really well.
Yeah, it actually makes it easier for us because we didn't know what we were getting overwhelmed by the number of job opportunities people were sending us and getting that information to students. We have a newsletter we do, but that didn't seem to be as effective as getting them in front of the students. So it's much easier for us now because we just respond, hey, join us at our Career Connections event. It looks like Jen also had a question about building the website. No, I built that on my own, Jen, through Google Sites, and it was very easy. So I will say it's super duper easy to do. It is a little bit of work upkeeping it because I have to, once the employers fill out that survey, I have to go in and re-put the information on the website, but it's mainly copy paste. And if you happen to have like an administrative assistant, they could also help you with that. I didn't have our administrative assistant help me, but I think David's having her help now and she's very good with the website. So.
No, I'm in the same boat. We know we're in the same boat. Like there's more jobs than students right now. So that's a great opportunity. Have you yet to have any repeat offenders, like employers come back?
Oh
Like,
yeah. They
okay.
like too many times. Like they
Okay.
want to join every event all the time. And Dave and I are like, that's wonderful, but we're gonna have to put you just in this time slot. So yeah, we do have a few that just want to come every time we have it.
Andrew has a question.
Hey, I guess I have a comment and a question. My question first is, and I apologize if I missed this, but so kind of looking forward, are you all thinking about kind of having every other one be in person and one be virtual, or did you kind of feel like you made the leap to all of these events in the future just are going to be virtual because it maybe makes more sense? I guess I'm just kind of curious about that.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I have thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, David.
I mean, I'd say about 90% of the industry members that we've presented these options to, they're very happy with this because they can stay on the job and then they can buzz out for an hour and 40 minutes or so, and then they can stay back on the job. We also, as a college, have job fairs, and so there are in-person large, much broader fairs available. But what we do what we do for any industry members who really want that face-to-face is we just bring them into the classroom and we say, come in as a guest speaker, and they love it. We just had some scholarship representatives come, and they're industry reps that are pushing education and funding opportunities for students in their specific field, and say, well, come on in. So, yeah.
Thanks. And my comment, I guess, is just as someone who's kind of tried to put together industry student meeting events, I was really pleased, I guess, to hear you say that kind of getting students there was sometimes even more difficult than employers, because that has really been this very strange experience I've had, is that we've been really good at getting employers in whether physically into a room or onto an online event. And it's just, I guess I appreciate the strategies you've also mentioned to kind of get those students there, because it's, to me, I was not expecting it. I was expecting to have a lot of students and not too much industry, and the reality was somewhat flipped. And so it's really nice to see the ways that you guys kind of push through that, and they kind of have this nice parity of both students and industry there. So well done on that.
Oh, good. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. I think that was the last of the questions. What do we have? Any others? I know it's definitely been our pleasure to present this, and we're, like Heidi said, we're definitely open for later questions. We won't just leave you. We'll be longitudinal with this.
So I'd like to thank Heidi and David. And as you can see, the challenges you have with scheduling, sometimes we do too, right? Friday at noon is usually good for us, but some Fridays, everything just happens. I know Gabby and I run into that all the time. Like, hey, it's usually really good, but just not this week's. But this will be recorded and posted on the website. So your information will be available. And we really thank you all for coming and thank our presenters. Great job.
Thank you. Again, we're so happy to share it with you. And if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome job.
Yeah.
Thank you.